Hey guys, what's up? It's Aaron Shu and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know that for some of you it's your first time being here. If you are, welcome. I love to make content that is disability focused. I always jokingly say, but not so jokingly by the way, that I demystify disabilities one video at a time. I enjoy just sharing my life as someone who has a disability in the hopes that I inspire the people out there to just get an appreciation of how people with disabilities live. And I was also very frustrated by some of the experiences that I was going through as someone with a disability. And it made me wonder if it was because people are just so cruel and inconsiderate of people with physical disability in particular, or it was something that was happening primarily because people did not have a full understanding or appreciation of what life can actually be like for someone who has a disability. And in true to form, I have also been accused of sugarcoating everything and making it seem like life with a disability is just so perfect as long as you have got the right mindset and then you have nothing to worry about, which I will tell you right now, that is not the case. As someone who is living this reality for days, I can tell you that some days are just way more difficult than others. So, with that in mind, I thought I would share a story that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I shared this on my social media, my Facebook. Yeah, I'm old ish, man. I still use Facebook. So, I am usually someone who has accepted their situation. I've accepted my disability. I don't necessarily always feel sorry for myself. I'm not saying that I'm always happy about it, but I am saying that I've made peace with it. I've accepted it and I've understood that these are the cards that have been dealt. And whether I like it or not, whether I embrace it or not, it's not going to stop life from moving forward. So I learned the hard way to just accept myself and make the most of my situation. At least on most occasions, that's what I try to do. But there are times and situations that just make it very difficult for me. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was home and I have not been well for several years now. So I spend most of my time in bed, sleeping, resting, you know the drill. So the person that I was with was about to leave for a few hours. So I said to him, I would just stay in my bed. And then when he left the house, I think he forgot, unfortunately, to switch off the stove. He didn't realize that the stove was still on. I live in an old house. The wiring is not very good. We are always having electrical faults. Yes, I know it should be fixed. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. So I was laying in bed after about half an hour after it gone, and I could smell something burning all the way from the kitchen right up to my room. And I realized in horror that the stove had been left on. I felt so helpless. I knew that even if I tried calling out to my neighbors, they wouldn't be able to hear me because they don't live that close. And then I had my phone close by, but there was no airtime in my phone. I didn't have credit in my phone, so I couldn't call anyone. And also to add salt to the injury, when I realized that I didn't have enough credit in my phone to make a phone call so that I could call a friend who could then call my neighbor and ask them to come and switch off the stove for me, I tried to send him a text message and I did. And unfortunately, he was busy and he didn't see the message. And I lay there in bed feeling so bad. Not only was I feeling so bad, I was also very worried, very stressed out, and very concerned because I knew that maybe the house would catch on fire. It's an actual possibility, by the way. And I was just there imagining all kind of bad endings and what would happen and how long it would be before someone would notice that there was smoke coming up from our house. And I was just in bed asking myself, like, God, why would you allow me to have this kind of life where I could potentially just die from something that had I been able-bodied like everyone else, I could have easily solved or dealt with the situation. But because I do not have the actual physical ability to get up, walk to the kitchen and switch off the stove, then my fate is literally up for grabs. I felt so frustrated. And it made me realize that it's not the actual disability in itself that is problematic. It's the fact that sometimes you have to deal with the limitations that it gives you. Yes, it's so nice to say disability is ability. I have said that before numerous times, and I also believe it. But the reality on the ground sometimes is that there are physical limitations that a disability actually does place on you. But anyway, the story does have somewhat of a happy ending. If you are from Zimbabwe, this may not sound like a miracle to you because it's a very common occurrence. I think an hour went on and I could still smell like the burning smell from the kitchen was now worse. Whatever was being cooked or boiled was now just beyond any saving, basically. And then something happened, which I consider is a miracle and is God's way of showing me that He still does care for me and that is concerned about every little thing that I go through on a single basis. If you are from Zimbabwe or from the African countries, especially neighboring African countries, this may not be much of a big miracle to you, but power went out. And the reason why I'm saying this is that it's a very common occurrence. It happens all the time. Power always goes out. But for me, it was just God's subtle and miraculous way of reminding me that He does care for me. Because the moment that power went out, of course, also the stove switched off and any other danger was averted, essentially. And it just reminded me that God always does come through for me. Yes, I know you may say I'm reaching, you may say I'm trying to make a storm out of a teacup. Granted, you could be right. But one thing that I've learned, and I will say this is probably because of my disability, is that you will learn to appreciate the very small things in life, the very little everyday miracles. For me, it was just God's way of comforting me. It helped lessen my anxiety and worry and concerns because now I didn't have to worry about our house catching fire or me dying in it or inhaling smoke and all kinds of things that could have happened. Just the fact that power went out at that moment, I relaxed for a little bit. And it didn't come back on until there was somebody in the house. By the way, someone had returned home. That's only when the power came back on. We'll always see the hand of God in that. And it just taught me to look for God in the very simple and smallest of things. Because sometimes we will tell ourselves that God doesn't speak to people. But in my case, He really did minister to me. He reminded me that He is always watching over me 24/7. No matter what I'm going through, He's protecting me, watching over me, and making sure that no harm comes my way. Hopefully, this story will with you in some kind of way. It will encourage you, it will inspire you. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Hit the like button, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Also, if you'd like to support the channel any further, please do so by buying me some coffee through my Buy Me a Coffee page. I consider this as a donation or just as a tipping jar. You can buy me as many cups of coffee as you would like, 20, 100. It's all up to you, just as many as your heart leads you to. Just click the link in the description box, and I would really, really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. See you soon.